Hey, what's up, guys? Here on the Fire Sports Pod, where everything we got is hot. I'm your host, Zack Jackson, and let's get right to another show I have for you guys today. We are currently on Season 5, Episode number 13 here on the Fire Sports Pod. I'm powered by StreamYard, where StreamYard makes the dream yard go. Let's get right into the show. We got 3 segments for you. We're going to stay with the NFL for 2 segments, and we're going to move to more of a different type of segment. We're going to go into the MLB and really talk about Aaron Judge and his season so far through the regular season, and how this season was actually better statistically than 2 years ago when he hit 62 home runs. We'll get into that. On top of that, we'll go over a controversial thing over the weekend happened with the Giants and Seahawks game. Seahawks were known to jumping over the line on field goal attempts, and then they banned it relatively soon after that, saying it was cheating. So-called in the rule, as long as you don't directly jump in from running and or you don't use guys for leverage, it's legal. Since Simmons on the Giants used it, just literally just jumped right over as the blockers pushed the offensive lineman down. It was legal. He was able to block the kick, and that basically ended the game with the Giants winning off a block kick return for a touchdown against the Seahawks. So we'll go over the controversy thing. What are my take on it, and what does ESPN and the so-called other guys say about it? And then on top of that, we got one last segment for you guys, and that will be going over the Steelers. George Pickens, who had a 26 yards on his lowest output of the season, and really just go over certain types of things. So we'll stick with those 2 segments for first, and then we'll go into some maybe more of some injuries, some starting quarterbacks that are going into this week. Maybe we'll get into that. So let's get right into it. All right, guys, let's get right into the show. We got our first segment. Like I said earlier, we're going to be going over Aaron Judge's statistical last 3 seasons, and how the 2 years ago was actually, this year was much better than 2 years ago, even though he hit 62 home runs 2 years ago and he only hit 58 this year. So let's get right into it. So Yankees Aaron Judge enters 2024 MLB playoffs off a regular season that was even better than it appeared. At 94-68, the New York Yankees, who finished with the best record in the American League this season, and they will face, as we know, the Kansas City Royals in the ALDS beginning Saturday. The Yankees had a bye and spent this past week sleeping in their own beds, playing the games as they stay sharp and hoping that the Orioles versus Royals wildcard series was as long and grueling as possible, which it wasn't. The Royals absolutely swept 2 games straight over the Orioles. Now, the New York was, of course, led by Aaron Judge, the AL MVP favorite, and the game's best hitter and player in the 2024 in the regular season. He led the sport in home runs, 58 RBIs, 144, OPS of 1.1159, WAR of 10.8. On and on we could go. Juan Soto had a terrific season, who batted 288, 419, and 561 with 41 home runs and 7.9 WAR, and is more like a second Batman than Judge is Robin, but clearly Judge is the centerpiece. He is the captain of the team, and he makes the engine run for the Yankees. He's still playing video games, and we're out there working, Giancarlo Stanton said about Judge's season last week via the New York Post. Incredible to watch. I mean, absurdly ridiculous. He comes into a big slump of 16 games straight, and then he just riles off home runs after home runs after home runs after home runs. It's pretty crazy on how consistent Judge can get in just a matter of seconds. When their postseason begins Saturday, Judge and the Yankees will look to win franchise's first championship since 2009, which is really the only thing missing from Judge's resume at this point. He doesn't have a World Series ring yet. In Yankees lore, he's more than Dan Michelin than Derek Jeter. Not that it's a bad thing, of course. He's still got a long ways to go in his years in the MLB still. But he's been in the league for a while, since back, I believe, in 2016. So it's been already 8 years. So he's been in the league for a bit. Now just looking for that championships to really put on his resume. And I think if he wins the championship this year, after last year's terrible regular season ending, missing the playoffs, on top of him getting injured, coming back the next season and just hammering out. Didn't start that great, came on strong, had a 16-game, 20-game slump, then put it on at the end. It was ridiculous to watch. Now, here are 4 ways Judge's monster 2024 season was even more impressive than it appears on the surface than 2022. So he was better than 2022. 2 years ago, Judge hit, like we said, 62 home runs, setting a new American League single-season record, and it earned him an AL MVP honors. He did not break his own single-season home run record this year. He only hit 58 home runs. Quotation marks, only hit 58. A lot of people couldn't even get close to that. But Judge's 2024 was indeed better than his 2022, and here's the comparison, and here's why. I'm going to tell you why. So if we look at the stats right here, his batting average in 2022 was 311. His batting average in 2024 was 322. So he got better. And a lot of people said there's no one that can get better than the 2022 season of Aaron Judge. He got better. Not somebody else. He got better, which is crazy. On-base percentage was 425. His on-base percentage this year was 458. So he like it's crazy. He had like over 25 percentage points better than it was 2 years ago, and it was supposed to be the best season ever. His slugging percentage was 686 in 2022. This year was 701. That's absurd that he's just getting better and better every category. His strikeout rate was 25.1%. It's down from 2 years ago. His strikeout rate this year was 24.3%. So you just see, it shows you he's seeing the ball even better. You might say, what's a percent does? A percent is a big amount when it comes to baseball and statistics and even anything. So if you can drop a percent in a matter of in between a year, it's absolutely ridiculous. Now, his walk rate was absurd this year. And 22 years ago was 16%. Everyone was like, damn, for a guy that big, his power and everything, for it to be only 16%, to be 16% is crazy. His slugging, his walk rate now is 18.9. So he got even better by seeing the ball and drawing even more walks and getting himself on base more, so to give his teammates an opportunity to rally him in off their at bats. So that's even nuts to see. And then extra base hits, he had 90 in 2022, he had 95 in 2024. So, and then the last one, total bases, 391. 2022, he beat it by 392 this year. Every statistical category that matters in how you see how a player is progressing, he was significantly better in every category. Hands down. And that just shows the dedication, the heart, and the willingness to be the captain of the New York Yankees. And how you know you can just even get better, you just got to believe. And he believed, and he put that after that disgusting 2023 season where we missed the playoffs and he missed like 50 games. The fact that he was able to get back to that and even be better statistically is great to even see. So across the board, Judge was better in 2024 than 2022, even though he hit 4 less home runs. Higher average, more on base, more slug, fewer strikeouts, more walks, the works. If there was one negative in Judge's offensive game this year, it was his league-leading 22 double plays. Having Soto on base so much ahead of him contributed to that, though Judge's 11% double play rate was his highest in 4 years. So other than that, that's really that. That's it. His double plays, he was hitting a lot into double plays, but other than really that, he improved big time. Even with the double plays, Judge was the best hitter in baseball this year, even better than Ohtani. There's a 123-point gap in OPS between Judge and the runners-up, Shohei Ohtani. And he was even better this season than he was during his record-setting MVP season 2 years ago. So that just shows no matter the competition, he was still the best player. I still believe Judge is the best player in the MLB, even though Ohtani had a historic 50-50 season, which has never been done in history of the MLB, and it's just him on the mountaintop. Just Judge does it so consistently, and he's so great at it. Now, if he was pitching, Shohei, okay, he's the best because you can hit, steal, pitch, and do all that. On top of having an ERA, if he went 50-50 and had like below a 2.5 ERA, okay, then he's an MVP of the entire league. But I think Judge is still the MVP of the American League, and between him and Shohei are the best players in the MLB. hands down. Now, Judge did saw more non-fastballs than almost anyone. So it was, even though 4 home runs were missed, he saw a lot of non-fastballs than almost anyone in the league. So a lot of it had to be on understanding the game, knowing where the pitchers are going, how to really relocate and really hit contact with those sliders, those curveballs, those splitters, those changeups. It's hard to hit. If you get a fastball down the middle nowadays in the big leagues, it's gone. If you hit it perfect, usually most players that are on it can hit it perfect. It's gone. It's going over 400 feet. But nowadays, the pitchers are getting better, more adversity, a variety of pitches. So it's harder to hit, especially if you're that guy in the MLB. So Judge, like we said, we were trying to give the argument to let people know that Judge was better this year than last year. He didn't get the 62 home runs or past it, which he could have. Most definitely had that 16-game span where he just didn't hit a home run. And if he would have hit not even half, just 3 out of those games, a home run, 4 out of those games, he ties it, 5, he wins it. So you never know, but it is what it is. I think he can break it again. He's shown it 2 out of the 3 years. I think he could break it again. He can't just have that 16-game layoff. And really, that was the difference between him getting it and him not getting it. So Judge, to me, is the best player in the MLB. I think this shows it. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So we're going to move on to our second segment. We're going to take a quick break, and I'll get right back to you. All right, guys, we're going to move to our second segment on today's show. We are moving to a controversial thing that's been happening on Sunday between the Giants and the Seahawks, where the Giants actually got the win. Didn't think this was going to happen. I had no idea the Giants were there, but the Giants played perfect football. Got to give them that. They played good football. They almost lost a very controversial call at the end of the game between a field goal attempt for the Seattle Seahawks, where the Giants was able to block it and return it for a touchdown. Now, the New York Giants blocked the field goal attempt and ran the ball back for a touchdown to seal the victory against the Seattle Seahawks. But should the trip to the end zone even have counted? While some say no, pointing to that what they believe should be a penalty, the NFL maintains that everything that went down during that play was within the rules. Okay, fair game. But before we get into what each side of the argument says, back up, there's a stance. Let's take a look at the play. So I'm going to look up the play, guys. But before we do it, I'm going to talk to you guys about just in general. I think that this rule should be in place to understand when and how can you jump over the guys. If you use your momentum, if you get a running start, that's one thing. But if you're able to just literally leap over the guys, now we also got to talk about if perhaps when the blockers, the defensive guys, push down on the offensive lineman and be able to get that over, then we may be talking about a flag. I saw that the Giants players opened the gap for Simmons, basically pushing down on the offensive lineman. So it was just an easy jump for an athletic linebacker. So let's look up the Seahawks block, a Giants block on the Seahawks. Let's look up that. So Giants blocked field goal, and we'll show you guys the video so you guys can take a look at what you think. For me, I'm sense of it, but we'll see exactly what it is. So let's get right in. I'm going to present the screen.
Jared, what if my guy fumbles?
This to tie the game at 23, and it's blocked! Isaiah Simmons, and picked up by Bryce Ford Wheaton, and he is gonna go! The Giants sideline erupts! Unbelievable! He scores!
Let's take a look at this. He jumps over the center, blocks it. And wow, what a return. We talk about all phases,
guys, if you go back,
offense, defense, special teams, making blocks,
are
making contributions to winning games.
I think that
Gene,
should be the flag.
I need to know, are you allowed to
but
jump
if a
the
guy
center?
jumps just fully over,
No, he
and there's
actually is
no
in that
run,
gap,
and there's
Tiki.
no
I think
run.
it's a great play by Simmons. He's right
The
in the
Giants
A
gotta give
gap.
him
He
credit.
goes right through.
They
He
didn't
doesn't
break
use
the rules.
anybody
They were able to get
for
that done.
leverage.
They
He
got the
just
field goal,
finds
got the
that
win.
gap, leaps
It's
up,
really
and
all
makes
that
a great
matters.
play.
Can you get the win when needed the most? And they got the win. And that's really what matters the most. But it's the controversial comes with just the actual field goal block and should it have counted and should have not counted. Now, the Seahawks were attempting a 47-yard field goal that would have made it a tie, 23-23 each. Giants linebacker Isaiah Simmons lined up for a left on the long snapper, jumped over the Seahawks right guard, Lake Tomlinson, and blocked the kick, setting up Bryce Ford Wheaton to grab the ball and go 60 yards for the score for New York. Now, the whole argument has been that the Seahawks back when the Legion of Boom was the Legion of Boom and Cam Chancellor and Bobby Wagner were known to be jumping over the line, they either had a running start or they used leverage by pushing down and jumping over to block the field goal. That obviously has been taken out, and you can't do that. But nothing says for a guy to be able to literally just go from the position of looking to go after the lineman to jump over off just athletic ability and to block the field goal. Nothing says that's illegal. So I'm going to have to go on the side of the Giants. I think this was a clean block, and I think the Giants deserve the win. They were the better team at that moment and in that game, and they got the win, which all that mattered. They didn't break the rules, so enough with the bullshit, guys. The Giants got a good win in Seattle. They did not break the rules, and they had a pretty cool / sick block. I mean, I was, even though I'm a Cowboys fan, I hate the Giants, but it was pretty cool to see. I haven't seen a block field goal like that in a while, and then the return. It's been a long time since I've seen that on live. But like I said, the Giants got a big win, a much-needed one. They improved to 2-3 after a rough start to the season. Back to 2-3 is much better, especially in the NFC East, where the Eagles are doing well. The Cowboys are back on track, and the Washington Commanders are the best team in the division record-wise, and the Giants are right there at the bottom. But all teams are right in the thick of the thick. So we'll see if the Giants can make something out of this big win that they had on Sunday over the Seahawks in Seattle. So, guys, we are going to move to our third and final segment, which will be basically just going over some quarterback changes where we had some different rookies coming in to actually in place some veterans because of an injury and because of just trying different things because their season might be over even though it's only week 5. So I'm going to take a short break and we're going to get right into that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back like we never left. We're going to our third and final segment. We're going to be a bunch of segments into one. We're going to be going over some injuries, some pretty big names, some guys that might be coming back in the next week or two, some guys that are out for a couple weeks, and on top of that, some different quarterbacks coming into the field, some rookies are getting a shot and see what they could do with that shot. So we're going to start with some injuries. We got to go with the first guy off the board, which is my dude, DaRon Bland. Is suiting up. He will return to practice Wednesday on a pitch count with a possibility of playing Sunday against the Lions. Finally, let's hope that he can get through practice with no setbacks and ready to go for Sunday. Obviously, he's not going to play every snap on Sunday like he used to because of the injury, but he's already back, and we're going into week 6. So the fact that he's already back just shows that like season's going by quick. Feels like the season just started and we are already back into the fold, which is absolutely ridiculous to even think about. DaRon Bland is an all-pro. The man is a monster, and him and Trayvon Diggs pairing together will be fan-freaking-tastic. Cannot wait to see that. We wanted it last year, but Diggs went down. DaRon Bland stepped up. Now we're going to have 2 all-pro corners together on the sideline, and we will see how great that duo will become. So I'm going to take the Cowboys getting a big win on Sunday against the Lions, especially if DaRon Bland is back in the fold. So DaRon Bland is looking to be back. On top of that, we got more news. Micah Parsons is also close to return as Jerry Jones reveals he is aggressive mindset with all defensive injuries. He looks like he's ready to roll, and it looks like Micah Parsons will be back full practice and everything in the next week or two. It looks like he's trending in the right direction according to our owner, Jerry Jones. So again, we're going to have DeRon Bland, Micah Parsons back. DeMarcus Lawrence won't be back for another 3 weeks or so. He's out for 4 to 6 weeks with a bit of an injury, a big-time injury. So let's see if he comes back fully healthy and ready to roll. Another big injury for the Texans. We're staying in Dallas, but we're going to Houston. We're staying in Texas, but we're going to Houston. And it's their number one wide receiver, Nico Collins, which will be missing 4 games with a hamstring issue, will eligible to return in week 10. So that's pretty bad. Nico Collins had a 67-yard bomb in this last weekend's game, and then he came up hobbling. So a big loss, but the Texans are still 4-1. They got Stephon Diggs. They got Tank Dell. They got Dalton Schultz. Joe Mixon is also hurt for them. Hasn't been back in the lineup in a while. So, I mean, they're good. They'll be fine. The point of the matter is can they stick out big wins against big teams with their number one guy, Nico Collins, out? I think Stephon Diggs steps up big time as that type of number one wide receiver that he was in Buffalo. I'm thinking of like he does that in the next 4 games to help out C.J. Stroud and the Houston offense. So we move from that, and then we go to some quarterbacks. So, guys, actually, before we go to the 2 quarterbacks that are getting a shot, that are the one's a rookie and one's an older guy, we got to go to the Raiders, where D tackle Christian Wilkins' foot is out indefinitely after undergoing surgery and will be placed on the IR. So he's most likely going to miss the rest of the season, which is a bummer for the Raiders. They already don't have a lot of guys on offense going head-to-head. They're really actually switching their quarterback, and we're actually going to transition right into that since we're already talking about the Raiders. Aidan O'Connell will replace Gardner Minshew II as the starting quarterback versus the Steelers in Week 7, according to Antonio Pierce, the head coach of the Raiders. So, Aidan O'Connell is now the starter for the foreseeable future. We will see if Gardner Minshew gets another shot at it. I think his shots are gone. We're already into Week 6, and I think this week they have a bye, so they're going to be already into Week 7. I think he probably doesn't start again unless Aidan O'Connell is really, really shit, and then they just have to make another change. But I think the Gardner Minshew type of thing saga is over, and I think now they're transitioning into Aidan O'Connell to try to see how things go. Now, we move to our last and final news, where we just broke an hour ago with Spencer Rattler, guy from Oklahoma. Man was a TikTok guy. Seen him up through high school, into college. Good quarterback. Not a great quarterback, not a absurdly good quarterback, but he's a good, solid quarterback. Spencer Rattler will make the start for the Saints on Sunday versus the Buccaneers. Head coach Dennis Allen reports. So, in that case, now we know Spencer Rattler is going in because Derek Carr has an oblique injury, and he's going to be out for a significant amount of time. And their third string quarterback or second string quarterback, whatever you want to call it, sucks. So Spencer Rattler was a healthy scratch in Monday night's game against the Chiefs. So he will be starting to help out the Saints versus the Bucs in a big division rival game. After the Saints started 2-0, they've dropped 3 straight. So getting a big win against a division rival on Sunday will be big time if they can get the job done. I would just have to go with Buccaneers. Their defense is not as good as it used to be, but they have some old guys, and they're going to put it on Spencer Rattler for his first NFL official start. I definitely going to go with the Bucs on this one. But that is pretty much the news I got for you guys for the NFL with some injuries. Of course, we all know Robert Saleh is no longer the head coach of the New York Jets. Bill Belichick and Mike Vrabel might be on the board come this offseason for them to make a move to get him at head coach. Both options would work great for the Jets. Personally, I think Mike Vrabel would be much better suited with the Jets just because I want to be jealous and I think we're suiting up to take Bill Belichick for the Cowboys. That's why we didn't re-sign Mike McCarthy to an extension with his coaching. So I believe that's going to be the case. I'm going to take Mike Vrabel to be the best available option, and I think he works well with the Jets. I think it's not a bad tandem. Him, Aaron Rodgers, Nathaniel Hackett. I think everything will mesh pretty well. I would stick with him going there, and then I would have Bill Belichick head to Dallas if everything goes to plan on what I think Jerry Jones is thinking, where we don't do as well as we usually do this year. We get into the playoffs, we don't do as well as we always do, and then we make a move at head coach, and we change the whole narrative behind the Cowboys and all that stuff. So that's where I think we're going. Robert Saleh, didn't think he deserved to be fired. I liked him a lot. I thought he was a great coach. I think they should have definitely waited until the end of the year if he was going to fire him. It sucked because he had to deal with Zach Wilson for 2 years, I believe, or a year for the first year. And then the first year, he had to deal with a bunch of different quarterbacks. Second year, Zach Wilson. And then the third year, Aaron Rodgers. And even Aaron Rodgers said today on Pat McAfee's show, maybe if he played better and they would have won Sunday, Robert Saleh would still have a job. I highly agree with that. I think it was basically based off them having a 2-3 start, and this team has aspirations to win a Super Bowl or compete in a Super Bowl. And right now it's not looking good, both offensively and defensively for the Jets. So that's a question that has to come into play. And ultimately, the owner, the G-man, made the adjustment and made the decision to fire Robert Saleh. So he's looking for a job. If I'm also the Cowboys, I'll take Robert Saleh if he's on the market. If we can't get Bill Belichick or even Mike Vrabel, all candidates could be a possibility for Cowboys this coming off season, depending on what happens this season with Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, and the Dallas Cowboys, and how well they do, how far they go, and do they win a Super Bowl? That is remain to be seen. That is the big $1 million question that we have to ask us Cowboy fans. Are we good enough to win a Super Bowl right now? I don't think we are. I got to see a lot more during this season and a lot more wins against big-time talent and big-time teams for me to really say we have a shot at running for the Super Bowl. Because I'm a realistic Cowboys fan. I'm not a guy that's going to say we're going to win the Super Bowl every year. Never said it. Only said it when I really thought that we had the team. And that's been few in between teams that could win the Super Bowl. Last year was one of them, and we stunk it up against Green Bay. And now this year, don't have the same team. Can we get back to that? Again, that's the $1 million question, and I'll leave you guys at that. That's pretty much it for my show here on the Fire Sports Pod, where everything we got is hot. I'm your host, Zack Jackson, and this is Season 5, Episode number 13. We are powered by StreamYard, and I will catch you guys on Friday for Season 5, Episode number 14. Catch you then. Peace out. Have a great rest of your Wednesday night.